So we're just going to focus on getting this body right because this is the most important part. Really simple once you know the techniques, and I'm going to take you through that step by step. What you are going to need is a felting mat, foam mat, a hessian mat, whatever you prefer to use. Whatever you are using, always pop a topper on the top of your working surface. It just protects it, makes it last so much longer. And you will need just a standard felting needle. You don't want anything that's too fine and bendy. You want something that's quite robust, so either go for a 38 or a 36, because we're going to be working against the pipe cleaners, so it reduces the risk of actually breaking the needle if you do hit them. But I will be showing you techniques to avoid that. The second thing you are going to need are 3 pipe cleaners, a shorter one and then 2 of longer lengths. If you've just got short ones, then you can just wrap them around each other so to lengthen them. And if you've just got the longer ones and you need one short one, then just double it over. Should be fine. So work with whatever you've got. So 3 pipe cleaners, your felting needle, your felting mat. And I have here for the body, I'm using some carded wool. These are in long lengths. Wool top will work just as well, but it's a beautiful carded, I'm not sure if this is Jacob or not, but it's a lovely coarse carded wool. So we're going to be working that as well. So the first thing we're going to do is start with our short pipe cleaner. And what I'm also going to do is, because we are going to start on the head and we don't want it too bulky, in fact I'll do this for the entire piece, we're going to actually split this length that we have here. So if it's quite thick like this, which is about the thickness of my wrist, maybe a little bit smaller, then just separate it down the middle, so until you've got a thinner length. It's much better for working with. Now the first thing you want to do is just actually, you can see that, is just bend over small parts at the top of your pipe cleaner. So, see that? Bend that over. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a short length, so I think we'll pull off about this much of that, and we're just going to pop it underneath that bend we have created, as you can see there. Now that will come into play in a little while. This is actually the head we're making now, so this will form part of the head, but we just want to keep that there. And then we want to flatten that pipe cleaner down so it's secure, and then just twist it around so it doesn't allow the wool to come out. And that's the first part done. The next part of the head, we're going to take another small section, not as long as that piece, probably about 2/3 that length. Just going to pull it away gently. Remember, hands apart, pull it away, and or you are going to wrap it around just beneath where you've just secured that top piece. Just keep that out of the way. And what I like to do is actually tie a knot to start with, because I find that if you tie a knot, it reduces the amount of felting you have to do, but it also creates a really nice firm core to the head. And when you're pulling it tight, keep those fingers close together. If you pull them apart like that, then the wool will pull away. Doesn't matter, it can be rectified, but it's better if you can keep it in one piece. So you see that's nice and tight. And then if you've got enough wool like I have here, flip it over the other way and tie another knot. So there's no real front or back at the moment. As I said, just keep that out of the way. So can you see here, that's really nice and firm. So what we've done is we've created that really nice firm centre for the head. Now we're going to carry on creating that head. We don't want to come any further than where this knot finishes. So just wrap around one of the tail ends, keep it firm, pull it round until you've got the ends there, and then just diagonally with your needle felt those ends in. And so that's really nice and firm. You can just go around and secure it a little more, but there's very little felting needs to actually be done at this point. Just work around the back, just tuck in any loose bits at the top. So you're not really penetrating through, you're just securing that top layer, which is good. Come back here again. And now we're going to take this other tail here, And we're going to take that round the back and to the front. It doesn't actually really matter. And just keep your fingers underneath there. You can keep your thumb and your finger underneath just to stop it from slipping down. We don't want it to end up long. We want a nice round shape. And then just tack that on gently with the felting needle just to hold that in place. Turn it over and bring those loose ends around. Keep your fingers out of the way when you're doing this. You're working quite close to the needle, so be careful. And can you see how we've got a really nice shape going on here? So now just start to shape it, make it a little bit more circular and keep it going. And there we go. A bit like a lollipop with two tails. Now the reason we've got these two tails is now what we do is we pull these over and around the head shape that we've just created to make it a little bit bigger, and this also becomes part of the body as well. So we pull that down, just tease some of that wool around, don't worry about it too much, and that's just going to be pulled down and pulled secure there, as you can see. And then what you're going to do is take a piece of either wool top or a piece of string, doesn't matter what colour it is. And can you see where we had that pipe cleaner bend over? So that's holding that nice and secure now. So we'll just pull this down and we'll just tie a little bit of wool top around there. But you can use whatever you've got, piece of string, piece of cotton, you won't see any of this. And just pull that nice and tight. And then if you want, you can actually knot it. There we go. And there we have it. So that is our head, which we will move around a little bit to tidy it up a bit later on. But basically that is our head ready, and we are now ready to start our arms. I'm just going to snip off those loose ends there because we don't actually need those, and that will all be hidden and tucked away. So pop that to one side, take the long pipe cleaner or two shorter pipe cleaners twisted together, and take a piece of the wool that you're using. Now with the arms you want to start off with a really thin amount, so again pull away small amounts. We want these arms to stay really nice and slim and firm. So I'm just going to pull off this length, much more than I need, but that's okay. Right, the trick is, as you can see, these arms here, the hands are a little bit wider and you can't see any of the pipe cleaner here, and there's a trick to doing that. So the first thing you want to do is you want to wrap around 2 centimeters of wool around the top of the pipe cleaner. Now, because this is a chenille pipe cleaner, it may be a cotton covered pipe cleaner, but the wool practically sticks itself. So there's not much need for actually using the needle. So wrap that round and then just hold it there. And if you want, just to secure it, just push down the side of the pipe cleaner, avoiding actually hitting the wire. And go gently. So if you do hit the wire, it shouldn't matter. That's all you need to do. And then just come down, and you want about 2 or 3 centimeters of the top part of the wire done. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually bend that over so that you've actually felted. You see that? You've already felted where the hand is going to be, and because you've bent it over, you've actually created some width as well. So we're going to just carry on. I'm going to wrap that wool around that bend now and then felt into position. There'll be a little hole where you've bent it, and you can push your needle through that gap just to secure it, and that's all you need to do. And then what we're going to do is start working our way down the arm, keeping the fingers close to the pipe cleaner, nice and secure. Don't worry about any lumps and bumps, we'll come back to that, because we're just going to twist and turn the pipe cleaner as we go, keeping that wool nice and flat as we turn. We don't want it twisting and getting thick, because we want nice even arms. So if you use your thumb and your finger to keep that in place, and then when you've got quite a way down, can you see how lovely and neat that is? But just go in diagonally at a few points just to secure it. Now you can stop here, pull that off and leave a gap. We don't need to do the middle part. Doesn't matter, if you want to carry on as one long length you can, but when we actually wrap the arms around it just stops them being as thick, but it doesn't really matter, it's just the way I like to do it if you want to just carry on. And as you can see, I've got a little bit loose there, so I'm just going to push down, and then all I'm going to do is just where that hand starts, I'm just rubbing that in the palm of my hand, and you see how that's flattened that down nicely, and just press that with your thumb and your finger, and you can see you've got that nice shape for the hand. All done. And then we're going to repeat that for the other arm. So this is both arms as one piece, which makes it much easier. So remember, just wrap around the first 2 to 3 centimeters. If you want, when you start, you feel more confident just by securing it, then do that, and then just keep going around. The trick is to keep the wool flat. Don't let it twist, because if it twists, that's when you start to lose the shape. That's the only thing you really need to think about. Apart from that, it's quite simple. Keep going down, and then just felt it there. I think I'll just do a little bit more there. And then what we're going to do, as we did before, we're going to bend. So put your thumb sort of in the center of the area you've felted. We've created that bend, you see, there. And then we're just going to continue to wrap that around the hand, hold it there, and then there's a gap where it's bent. You can just find that gap and push through the center of it, and that will tangle those fibers together to secure it. And then find the way that's most comfortable. Get the wool between your fingers again, and then just begin to twist. Keep it nice and firm. You don't want any gaps, so you don't want any pipe cleaner visible. I'm using white just so you can see the contrast between the two colours here. And then just keep going. I think that's more than enough. Pull off the loose bit, wrap around those ends. Diagonally, just poke that wool in a few spots just to secure, and then go to the hand and just felt down any areas that are looking a bit lumpy. These are just really sort of delicate pokes with the needle. You're not going at it, it's just going through that top layer. And there, as you can see, and then you can again roll in your hands just to really smooth it. And what it also does is the friction and the heat mats that wool together even more, just to secure it. And there you can see you've got 2 arms which look pretty even and not quite identical, never will happen, but almost. Now to attach the arms under the head, move this out of the way, lay the center of the arms underneath the head. Don't worry if it slips down, we'll push it back up, and then wrap one over to that side so they're both there. Bring the other one back over. This way you'll make sure that both arms are of equal lengths, and then flip it over. Bring one arm over again, and then the other arm over, and then we'll inspect, push it up, push it up. There we go. Arms are still looking a little bit long, so I'm going to pull that one over again and the other one over, and keep it in the same area. Don't let it slip down the body. You want to keep them up here, and let's have a look. That one's a little longer, so pop that there. And how's that looking? That's looking pretty good. And then what we will do when it's completed, we will bend those hands up like so. That one's a little bit long, so I am just going to bring that round the entire piece again. So again, this is just a case of twisting and turning until you're happy. that's better. Remember the arms, they look quite long, but you will actually be bending them at the wrists like so, and also part of the dress will cover the arm. But if you want them a bit shorter, then feel free to wrap around once more. And there we go. So the arms are now done and ready. Now the next part is to actually create some body, some torso up here, and that's why we needed this loose wool. Make sure you bend it so that you don't go any further than that bend, because we're going to need that when we attach the legs. So all you're going to do is wrap that loose wool around the body and felt gently. Just tack it so it holds. Then bring the other piece around. You're wrapping it around almost like a shawl, and then what you want to do is come back up and bring it over the shoulders and to the back there, and just felt it down gently. There's no right or wrong way to do this. All you're doing is wrapping that wool around to secure it and create the body. And then you do the same here. So bring that back up over that shoulder and bring it around any way you want. I'll just wrap it around the front there. Bring that tail round to the back or the front. We haven't decided which is the front or the back yet. And there we go. So you've created the top part of the body. So what we've done is it's all going to be covered up, but you need some bulk there. And you can actually pull those arms up like so. And then let's just secure this. So go in at a diagonal angle again. Until that's nice and secure. So that is our basic head shape. Our arms and our upper body is now complete. So to do the legs, they are made exactly the same way as for the arms, but this time you are going to wrap 2 or 3 times around because the legs need to be thicker, as you can see. So I will switch off the video, do the legs, and then come back when you've done them, and we'll actually attach them to this part of the body, very similar in the way that we did with the arms. So remember, you're doing 2 or 3 wraps around so that those legs are thicker and you've got nice chunkier feet there going on. As you can see, I've got my legs ready here, and just to show you, it doesn't matter if you go the entire way down, that's fine. And mine are not looking too pretty at the moment, they're looking a bit lumpy and bumpy, so I just wanted to show you how we will deal with that. But also I think I quite like my feet to be a little bit more bulky, so I'm just going to show you how to do that. And just take a small thin piece of wool, and we're just going to start at the very top of the foot, pull that little bit of wool over and just attach it. Don't worry about these loose ends, because look, what you can do is just pull those over, and then I'm just going to wrap that around the top area a few times, pull that off, and then just felt down all these wisps. And what you can then do is just bring over any bits that are hanging over the end, felt them in diagonally, and that gives it a really nice shape, which we'll firm with our hands in a moment. Can you see how nice and chunky that is now? So I need to add a little bit more to this one. So just a small piece again, just near the end of the foot. Bring those first few wisps over, have a little bit overhanging here, because when we pull that over, it creates a nice shape. And then pull that little bit over, and then take the rest of the wool around. A little bit too much there, so I'm just going to pull that off and just twizzle it around in your fingers, using your fingers just to mat it slightly so it holds. And then we can finish the job with our felting needle. Bring those wisps in. And can you see, because we bent the end over again like we did with the arms, we've got no problems with any pipe cleaners sticking out. So we've got a nice sort of chunky foot there. Now, this looks a little bit untidy. So what I'm going to do is the same as I did with the arms. I'm going to roll it in my hands quite vigorously. And what you can see that is it really smooths the wool. Go all the way down. And it also narrows, it flattens the wool a little bit so the legs don't look as thick. And it gets quite warm in your hand, which is what it wants to do, because that heat and friction is what mats it together. And then just where the base of the foot is, if you want, just to create a little bit of shape, you can really focus on just turning that area. And the same here. Don't do too much twizzling near the end of the foot, because what you'll find happens is the wool will actually come over the end and you'll start to lose that shape. So we're nearly done with the body, final part. So take the piece that you worked on earlier. Now decide which is going to be your front and which is going to be your back. So if you need to squish that head around just to get that shape right, that's fine. Remember, most of this is going to be covered by hair, so it doesn't really matter. And that wool that we pulled over, you can just pull some bits around. And then if you just want to tidy it up, just go around, go into that neck area just to shape it a little bit more. You can use your needle as well just to tease any wool over. But like I said, the majority of this isn't even going to be visible. So I'm just looking to see, and I think I quite like that side compared to that side, which looks a little less symmetrical. So I'm going to go with that as my front. Arms are in place. Now the reason we left this is because find the middle of your legs, so just bend them over, lay them on top of that piece of pipe cleaner that you left sticking out, and then just fold that pipe cleaner up and then just twist it in and secure it. You see what we've done there? I've just pulled it around the back there. It's just to keep those legs in place. They'll still wobble around a lot, but that's fine. And these are going to be the feet, so they're going to be bent up like so. And then what we're going to do now is we're just going to secure this part of the body so that these legs are even more secure. So you take a piece of your wool top or your carded wool, which is what I'm using here. Just tack that gently down, just so it holds. We're going to make it firm by pulling it tight as we go around. Just be careful of the pipe cleaners. And there we go. So you can see that's just holding. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull that round, secure it here 2 or 3 times, just felt that in, and you see how that now has secured the legs and the top of the legs. So you can still pose them, but they are now much more secure and stable. I think one more wrap around, keep it tight, keep your finger and your thumb close, pull it round, and then just pull away any excess, flip it over, take those wisps and felt them down. None of this will be visible, so it doesn't have to be neat, but just make sure it's nice and secure. So you've got those legs tucked in around that pipe cleaner that we flipped over, and then for extra security we've wrapped this wool around the waist, bottom area and the top of the legs. And that is your forest folk body ready to be dressed. And this can be used for all sorts of creations, for fairies, for the forest folk that I'm making, whatever you really want to make. You see? It's just a basic, simple body shape that's nice and secure, easy to create and ready to be decorated. This is where we have got to, and what we're going to do now is add some features and details. We're going to add this little snub nose. It's quite easy to do, but you might find that you do it 2 or 3 times before you're happy with it. I'm just going to use a lighter wool just so that you can see where I'm actually felting, so it just makes it easier for you to see. But if you're doing this yourself, then do it in a wool that's the same as the rest of the body. So you've got this nice body that we created in part 1, all ready for our details. So again, I'm using some carded wool here, and you need the tiniest pinch and just roll it in your fingers into a little bundle, and then what you want, this nice straight soft edge here where the bends are, that's going to form the base of your nose. So just pop it on the face, and these, keep your finger over the base, and then these loose bits here, just bring those in. You're creating almost a rough triangular shape, but what you don't want to do is poke right into the face, because you don't want to leave any needle marks, and it wants to blend in with the face so that it looks more natural, not like it's just been stuck on. And then this bit here, just sort of tuck that under, just tack that down so it doesn't move. So just tease that wool in, and again bring it into this sort of point at the top here, and almost pull out that wool so it disappears into the head. And then you see there, see that nose that we've actually created, and then you just tuck it under, and then just a few pokes just to flatten it down so it's in proportion. So can you see what we've done there? Now obviously that's showing up a lot, so I'm just going to pop on a darker wool just to blend it in a little. This probably isn't exactly the same colour wool, but it will do. It'll do, as they say in Yorkshire, it'll do. That's the Yorkshire lass in me coming out. I make no apologies for that. I love my Yorkshire roots, and I love Lincolnshire as well, where I live. There we go. So that looks a bit better. You've got a little bit of bright nose sticking through there, but if you're doing this at home yourself, then it will all blend in rather nicely like this one. I'll do that later, I'll cover that up properly. But just so you can see what's going on there, and you've got that nice shape. And then I want to pop just some eyes in, and just almost sort of barely there. Again, on this one, I've got a sort of darkish brown, and this is a black brown, just because this face is a little darker on the wool I'm using here. But when I say barely there, I mean the tiniest amount of wool, and just roll it around in your finger, pop it on, you see there, where it is, and then without moving your needle around, just poke straight through the middle. And you can also bring those edges in. You don't want them to be too dark and too big, because otherwise she'll end up looking like one of those frightening scarecrows. You remember the Doctor Who episode with the scarecrows? The Family, I think they were called. I love Doctor Who. There we go. So it's just kind of barely there. You don't have to add the features, but I do like a feature, as I said, on my characters, so that's why I'm adding them in. And I mean, really, look how small that piece is. And then just have a look at it. Make sure the eyes are even, don't wonky eyes. That was a bit better, actually, because I didn't add as much, so I'm just going to poke that in a little bit more. And there we go. And all of this will be covered by hair soon anyway. And that's it. Those are your features for your face, and I won't do any more than that. I wouldn't advise doing a mouth, because it starts to look, it just doesn't look right. I would just leave the mouth. You don't need everything on the face. This is just a suggestion of what is there. There we go. And then, as you can see on this one, I've got here, to make her feel really part of the forest, I've got some lovely green curls, locks, and I've wrapped them around her arms and legs, which I'm going to do. And I've also put some on her face here. You don't have to do that, but it was it's just another little detail. So what I've got here, these are, I think they're called chartreuse, this colour, and these lovely locks. And when you pull them out, can you see all those delicious, sort of delightful curls that we've got going on here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that there and just tack that on. And then I'm just going to wrap that around the leg. And you don't felt all of the locks, just in a couple of areas, just so it holds. And then have some sticking out as well. So I've got a bit there. And then I'm going to go back to my locks and see what I've got. You only need a tiny amount. That looks good to me. pull that out and just wrap that around there and just felt that in really gently until it just holds, and then bring that round the foot, and I'm just going to sort of sit it there and let it stick out. It's quite like that effect. There we go. And then to the other leg, and just sort of going to pop that on there, because this is going to be visible from the knees down, so I want to make sure that we've got plenty of these locks visible. And it just makes such a big difference to the entire piece. A bit chunky there. Pull that out, there we go. Let's see, you can get a lot out of a very small amount of wool locks. Pop that there. And that is it. Tidy up these bits here. Have that hanging down, so that will probably be visible from underneath the dress. And then we want to do the same for the arms. So the arms are probably going to be covered from about here, so I'll start just around there. Just poke down the side of the pipe cleaner and then just wrap it around, and I'm actually going to have this coming up and onto her hand here, just so it holds, and I'll just tack that there so it doesn't pop off. There we go. And same on the other arm, or similar. Find a nice bit of curl, that'll do. And you can sort of go to town on this. You can have as little or as much as you wish. Lost that curl completely. Here we go, there's a nice piece. So pop that on there, just poke it in anywhere it will go. Wrap that around, just again gently felt. When I say tack it on, I mean so it literally just holds the top, at the top of your actual figure, just through that very top layer. And there we go. Fern of the Forest is now ready to be dressed and decorated, and we'll put her gorgeous hair on, but we'll do the dress first because it's easier to get over the head. So join me in part 3. We are now on part 3, which is where we just get to do the really fun bit, which is actually adding all the lovely finishing details and the dress. We've worked everything around a wire armature, which you will have done in part 1, and then we've added the face details and the details around the body, which are these gorgeous blue face Leicester locks. And this is where we actually add this beautiful wool top to create her dress. Now you can use any wool top you like. I always advise using wool top for this though, because you get a really nice flow with it, and you'll see what I do when we've actually got it on her and cut to size. So I have used 2 contrasting colours here. We have a really beautiful sort of emerald green here, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And then on top of that, because the dress is actually in 2 layers, so we've got the top layer and a longer layer underneath. So the shorter layer on the top is this nice sort of soft muted sage green. So there's a really nice contrast going on, and it also tones down that vivid emerald green. Now we put the hair on last because it's just easier to get the dress over the head. So lay your 2 contrasting colours, whatever they may be, onto your mat, and then just pop a little hole. Do them both at the same time, but just pop a little hole there. So just pull the wool gently apart, and the same there. And then we're just going to pop that over her head. A little bit there. So we can start working and shaping this dress. This is really easy to do. You can do this any style you like. You don't have to follow the way I'm doing it. This is just the way I like to do it. And what we're going to do is just pull that down there, as you can see. And what I did before I started was I just took a little bit of that bright green emerald off so that I can tie this and secure it. as a belt. And we'll be adding another piece as a belt on afterwards, but that's just to secure all the details we'll be popping in here. So there you go, as you can see, we've got this nice dress sort of sitting across the shoulders. So I'm just going to pop that on, just pull this down so it's nice and secure. And I'm going to go up as high as I can because I kind of want it to be up near the top of the dress. And I'm just going to tie that in a knot at the back there and then knot it again and flip that back over. So there we go. Now what you can see here is we've lost some of the arms here. So I'm just going to pin back those arms with my felting needle and just push that top layer in first because we want to see this nice green layer underneath, this bright sort of emerald green. And I'm just going to tease that in. Don't have to do much with this. We're just lifting it up so we don't lose so much of the arms, and we can come back later and finish that and then do the same on this side. So bring that top layer of light green in because we want that emerald green visible underneath as well. Just tuck that in and then just pull this dress down so it's quite secure, there's no baggy bits, and that's it. The dress is on and ready to be trimmed and styled. You can leave that brown area at the front, or if you want to cover it you can just tease that wool over. I'm just going to leave mine like that. I'm just going to secure these arms so they don't drop down. Again, just gentle pokes with the needle. You don't want to work it too much because you don't want to leave needle marks, so go in from the underneath, and there we go. There we go, nicely done. So now I'm going to cut the dress, and I want to see quite a lot of her legs because I want to pose it. So I want to see her dress just on the knees or above the knees. So I'm just going to sweep back that top layer, and the bottom layer is what I'm going to trim first. And you have to be quite brutal with this. I've probably used a little bit too much here, but I am just going to cut straight across. So you've got quite a blunt edge there. And then I'm going to flip over, pull that top layer back, and then cut roughly the same length as on the other side. Doesn't have to be perfect, don't worry about it, just don't snip into the legs. Turn it back over. We're going to thin all this out and really make it flow soon. I'll show you that in a moment. And then this top layer wants to be shorter than the bottom, so I'm going to go straight in here and cut that off. And the same at the back. Now, as you can see with this one I've done, we've got these really nice sort of twizzled ends, and it really adds some movement to it and makes it flow. So that's what we're actually going to do. And to do that, pull that back again. Just got a little bit of length at the back there. I'm just going to trim a little bit off. And then to create those little points and those areas where we can twizzle, to give it that movement and flow, I'm just going to cut up into the dress because I really want to thin this out because it's a bit bulky. So you can be quite ruthless with this. Just go all the way around. Don't be frightened to cut in. If you like it as it is, then leave it, that's fine, but I like to style it this way. And then just go along and pull out little wisps, and you'll see where you've snipped Can you see now how that's, you've got these little pointed ends and it's giving it much more shape. Almost like a little ballerina dress, I suppose, or a little dance dress. There we go. And you'll probably spend more time than I'm going to on this. But I'm just going to do it quite quickly. You see how that's really thinned out those ends. And then we do the same for the top part, making sure not to snip into the bottom layer that we've just done. Because we want it to look good at the back and the front. And just go along. And you see what a difference that's made. It's given it much more drama, much more movement. Just get rid of the little bits that you're snipping away because it can get a bit messy. Snip that there. And there we go. And then just move that around the side there. And then what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to add some curls and details in here. So what I've got is, you just use whatever you've got. I've got some silk fibre here. This is wild tussar silk, I think. You don't need much. So just pop some over the shoulders. You don't need to attach it just yet. Just let's get everything in position. So I'll pop that there. And then I think we'll have a little bit of the green that we actually used on her arms and legs. We'll have some of that coming over and down. I'll have a little bit here as well, just going around. And you don't need any of this, but whatever you've got lying around. I mean, I've got some Wensleydale locks here. I'm not going to use these because I think it's going to be overkill, but whatever you've got, some other browns and creams there, you can use. And then I'm also going to just pop in a little bit of this. This is plant dyed art yarn, and this is Blueface Leicester as well, I believe. And I'm just going to pop a little bit of that there. And I'm just going to felt that there. And I don't think I really need too much here. I'm just wondering if a little bit more of, maybe a little bit of orange, just to bring it alive a little bit. Because we've got an awful lot of green going on here, so we'll just pop that on. Now this is why we put a second belt on. So from the wool that I kept from the long lengths previously, I'm just going to pop that on here and flip that over, bring any loose bits over the back and just tie that again. And this will secure those little excuse me, those little embellishments that we've just added. And then you don't really need to do anything with that. You can just tease that down. And this is really good as well, good use of needle. If you just use your needle, you can continue to thin out any loose strands. Can you see what that's doing? That's really thinning out that dress. Just do the same here. There we go. And then we'll just push this up and secure that. I would go in at the side of the waist. That way you're not creating any needle marks at the front of the dress. So that sort of just cinch it in. And then just bring this over here and felt that in and down the back. And you can add more, but I'm just going to leave it at that. And then bring these down. And then what you can do as well, and this is looking gorgeous and you've got some really nice movement going on here, But these little thin wisps now, you can just take them in between your fingers, and if you just twizzle, it mats the ends. Just use your fingers to separate, and do the top skirt as well. And can you see what that's doing? It's creating those lovely pinched areas of wool, and you can't beat a bit of twizzle when it comes to needle felting. In fact, if you watch my hedgehog video tutorial, this is what I do when I'm creating the spikes. You pull all the contrasting wool through from the base of the core of the hedgehog, and the contrasting wool that you're pulling out, you then twizzle, and it creates these brilliant spikes that are absolutely perfect for hedgehogs. So definitely, if you're interested in needle felting a hedgehog, super easy. You can probably do it in about 30 minutes. Just have a look at my list of videos. And there you go. Can you see what a difference that's made though? How beautiful is that? Oh, I love that. Look. Gorgeous. And then you can flip them to the side, so if she's posed, it look, you know, and she's running, she could be running through the wind with her dress flowing. However you want to style it. That's it for the dress. I'll just get rid of all these. It does get a little bit messy, this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop on her hair, sort of the icing on the cake, really. And I'm going to use, as I said, this beautiful plant-dyed art yarn. You can use whatever you can get hold of. These are just beautiful Wensleydale locks. You've got Blueface Leicester Yacht locks here. And I say I've got the brown and the cream ones here. Whatever you've got, whatever you want to use. And it is so easy. Just work from the top middle of the head. Just start above her eye line. You don't want to come too far over the face. And just poke in the locks. And then you can cut individual pieces if you want. But what I tend to do is I tend to just loop it and just add it all as one piece. So create that loop, bring that over, and then I can cut it afterwards. And because I like sort of short bits and long bits all over the place, so I'm looping that. And you've got all these lovely lengths as well, so we can pop those in. It's really quite random. There's no set pattern to it. Just work down the centre of the head, leave these sides loose, maybe just pin a few of them down just so that you've not got too many gaps, and then just keep working. Loop it again. Got some silk there mixed in. And work down towards the back of the neck and keep that going. And as I said, you can add all sorts of colours in here. You can keep it simple, you can blend your colours, you can do one colour. This is really nice sort of peaches and cream colours, and I've gone for this peachy colour because she is of the forest, and this is my take on how she looks. And also when you're snipping the hair, and if you're snipping any long bits, you can felt them back in. Quite a lot going on, but then you see these loops. Just going to cut through them, the back as well, so it releases them all. That's just a quick way of doing it. If you want to do them all as individual pieces and you're a bit more of a perfectionist than I am, then take your time. And then what I actually like to do as well is I like to have some short bits sticking up on the top, just sort of coming out. Just going to see if I've got just a little bit of creamy part of this, just to add some contrast on the top of the head there. That's better. And see how that just breaks that up. Depends how the colour runs through your wool, really. And see, you just poking that in gently. And I'm going to trim this. I think I'm going to have this bit just sticking up. There we go. And then just bring that back off her face a little bit. Bring that down there. I'm going to leave mine pretty wild, but if you want to have it really neat and all one length, you can do. And then this bit, I think I'm just going to pop there. So nothing is wasted with this wool. We don't want to waste it because it's beautiful wool. So we want to use all the bits up that we can. I'm just going to go in here. That's it. That's what she needed. And then bring all this down. There. So that's a little bit rougher than I would have it normally, but I don't want to spend too long doing this. And there she is. She's finished in all her glory in her beautiful dress. And this one, let's move that one out of the way. I've actually popped on a wooden base, and I'll just pop that out. That is just it's a barbecue skewer. I've drilled a little hole in a wood slice, popped that in, and then just poked the pointy end up the back of her dress and mounted her like so. Can you see that? She's lovely. And then you don't have to mount her. You can just sit them. I've got a sort of antique style cotton reel here, and she's sat on that one. And that really is it. Your beautiful Fern of the Forest is now complete and ready for you to display. So thanks for joining me, and I really hope you enjoyed that.